All right, so let's go. Uh, let's go. I got my bifocals on. I got my lens on. So I'm going. I'm gonna be doing a couple of things. I'm gonna be looking over here because I got a couple of screens up because I want to talk about the no discrimination against legal cannabis users. And I want to refer this to when someone is co-parenting, right? Is when you're co-parenting and you get mad at the other parent because they're smoking, and you want to tell the courts that you don't want them to have custody or you don't want them to be around your child and they smoking. And so here's some information that you need to know about that as relates to no discrimination for legal users. All right. Of course, there are some laws and there are some things in place for them as well, but some things you need to know if you're co-parenting, right? Let's just say the case, your DCFS case came in as a result of you being intoxicated. You called a DUI. The kids was in the car with you, and you was intoxicated, and the police came, and you got arrested. There was a case came in. I mean, there was an investigation came in, and the children's was, uh, um, and you called a DCFS case. But the father or the mother, on the other hand, was not involved. And so now you're co-parenting. And so now you get upset with them and you tell the authorities that the other parent is using marijuana. Okay, here's what you need to know. Okay. So this discrimination act says that this act cannot solely, primarily, be based on someone's or terminating someone's rights to visit their kids. So, in other words, it's saying that because someone uses their rights or their visitation, this act covers them to say that they cannot lose their rights to visit their kids because of their usage. All right. Also, another thing that this act covers is that uh, the court cannot reduce their parenting time or decision for them seeing their kids unless the usage is causing them to be irresponsible, right? And so it protects them. It also protects foster parents. It also protects uh, daycares and certain things like that. And so we need to be mindful of the usage that's taking place, right? Um, we need to be mindful. So I am going to be teaching this process to my parents today and just giving them as much information as I could about this marijuana. This thing is on my heart because I know I just feel in my heart someone needs to know this before they get themselves in trouble. And remember the old saying, trouble is easy to get into, but hard to get out of. And that's the same, we can adapt that same saying or that same thing to child welfare. You can get into that child welfare system and it'd be hard to get out of. It'll take you months to get out of that process and sometimes years to get out of that process. You lose your job, you lose your apartment, you lose your income. Rather, if you got TANF assistance income, you lose your income. And so now you ain't got no job, you ain't got no income, and you ain't got no place to stay. And so that puts you at risk for not having a place to stay for your kids. It's a lot that can go on. And so you ask me, Greg, why are you still on this? Why you keeping stand on this? It's because I want to educate as many young parents as I could. If I don't do it, then who else is going to do it? If I don't keep talking about this, who else is going to do it? And if you are going to do it, this is the time for you to do it right now. Because we need to make sure that we're educating our parents, whether they're young, smoking weed, smoking marijuana, smoking chronic, loud. We need to make sure that we educate them on what they need to know about this process. Here's another thing I got. Okay. Here's another thing. Responsible usage. Listen to this. As with other legal drugs, marijuana use will still impact your parenting fitness. That's what I want to stress. If you are irresponsible with it, a court may decide that your marijuana usage is dangerous or damaging your children's. If you use irresponsible. Number one, here's one. You're under the influence of marijuana and you're supposed to be taking care of your kids. That's all. That's every day. If those kids are, if you are the caretaker for your children, they're in your care. That's every day. That's every day. Okay, that's number one. We're talking about irresponsible use. If you're using irresponsible. Number two, you've been caught driving under the influence of marijuana. That's irresponsible. Number three, the courts can connect your marijuana usage with lack of good judgments. Meaning that you being under the influence is a lack of good judgment of you parenting your kids. The courts can do that. What was I at? Okay, and then number four, I believe I am at. You use marijuana around your kids, and they're inhaling the smoke of marijuana. You remember years ago when I used to smoke, we used to call it a contact. I don't know what they call it now. But somebody can blow smoke in your face and you can get a contact. Okay. You can get high from the smoke that's coming from somebody else smoking. Let me let you sit on that for a minute. You see how I'm looking. All right, want to let you know that. Okay, here's another one. You allow your children to use marijuana and they under the age of 21. And you give them permission to use marijuana. You remember we was coming up, you got some parents that said, I would rather for them to use in front of me and in my house than to use out on the streets. Cut that off. We can't do it, ladies and gentlemen. We can't do it. And we have to continue to educate our parents on what's going on with this marijuana. Right? And so I wanted to talk about the no discrimination against those who are using. But there are some laws and some procedures that's in place for them too. But you can't get mad and go tell the authorities that your baby daddy is using marijuana. And that would be damaging to them. That's going to have to be evaluated and looked at. So it can't be held against them unless they are using under the conditions that I just gave you, the bullet points that I just gave you. So it's good information I wanted you to know. Please go to the website, doingfamily.org, and a lot of this information is going to be posted on the website because I want you to know, I want you to get this information. As always, if you need to send me an email, my name is Greg. My email address is gregc@doingfamily.org. Hey, I'm excited about what's taking place in our communities, and I want to help make sure that we are educating as many of our young parents as we can that needs to be educated about this process. All right. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you. Peace.